Good afternoon. I'd like to take a moment of your time and try to persuade you to stay away from illegal drugs. Have you ever known someone that's been addicted to drugs? I have. I have very close family members who lost very lucrative businesses due to the addiction of drugs. This afternoon, I'd like to talk to you about prescription drugs and non-prescription drugs. Prescription drugs such as antidepressants, anti-anxiety medicines, and painkillers. Non-prescription drugs such as all illicit drugs and over-the-counter drugs. Some prescription drugs that I want you to be aware of this afternoon are Prozac, Xanax, and hydrocodone. Some non-prescription drugs I'd like to remind you about are all illicit drugs such as methamphetamines, heroin, and ecstasy, and some over-the-counter drugs such as cough medicines, caffeine meds such as energy drinks, and pseudoephedrine. To warn you about these drugs this afternoon, I'd like to take a moment and tell you about two young men's lives that I have seen totally destroyed by the addiction to drugs. You may say today, "Oh, I can take drugs and never be addicted." Well, that's what the first young man I'd like to talk to you about thought. He was my brother. He died at a young age of 52 years old due to what the doctors called was a lifelong usage of drugs. What my brother started out with in the early 60s was a simple experiment with a drug that's called marijuana. This led to other things. Once the highs of marijuana weren't enough, it led to other things such as heroin, cocaine, and many others. The destruction I want to warn you about is not only of the users of the drugs, but also the family members around those addicts. My brother not only destroyed his life, but he destroyed the life of his young son, his daughter, and his wife. Through the unprecedented loyalty, I watched as my brother's wife stood beside him through thick and thin, through times that you would not believe. But eventually it resulted in her having enough and a divorce. Then we have a split home, one that is of a mother struggling to make ends meet, and a father who's addicted to drugs and who really don't care about anything but the next high. Who hurt in all this? His young son and daughter. They did without things as young people that most school-aged children expect or need. The other young man I'd like to tell you about this afternoon is my own son-in-law, who threw away a lucrative business because of the addiction to drugs. It started simply by a motorcycle accident and an injured shoulder. Through the prescription of oxycodone from a doctor, he soon became addicted to this drug, and through the expense of this, led to being addicted to methamphetamines and many other drugs. Eventually resulted in hepatitis B, and he is just about to start his second term in prison. You can see how this destroyed my son-in-law's life. But even closer to me, it almost destroyed the lives of my own 3 grandchildren. 2 boys and a girl. And his wife, who happened to be my daughter. Through the grace of God, these young people have persevered. One who is a Marine, the second one who is about to enter the Air Force, and the young lady, my granddaughter, who's having a very nice time in high school. But it don't always end this way. Some young people follow in the footsteps of their parents who are addicts. My question to you today is, what choice will you make? Remember, all choices have consequences. Some good, some bad. For these 2 young men, the consequences of their choices were bad. not only for themselves, but for the ones that they once loved the most. Today I'd like to urge you to make the right choice. Avoid the use of drugs. Thank you.